Hey guys, it's Joe with Defensive Lucidity, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the Meprolight Foresight. Basically what this is a green dot sight similar to an EOTech. Has a robust amount of features that are with it. Has a lot of interactive usability, and as we go through it you'll see exactly what I mean. So let's get started with basically some of the features and specifics on the optic. It's a standard 1-power magnification. It has a very large display window. As you can see here, the window measures 33 millimeters by 20 millimeters. The entire footprint of the sight itself is 4.6 inches by 2.35 inches by 2.68 inches, which is roughly 117 millimeters by 60 millimeters by 68 millimeters. So the weight on this is 9.9 ounces. It has integral batteries that it runs on, which are rechargeable through a USB-C port that is located on the side of the optic itself. The operational time on a full charge is approximately 50 hours, depending upon what your brightness settings are, of course, and what other options you have enabled internally on the optic itself. So, charge time to charge from a pretty empty battery to full battery is, roughly around 10 minutes. It's extremely fast charging. There are multiple reticles inside this optic for you to choose from. I will put up little pictures throughout so that you will see exactly what I'm talking about as we go through the sight. There are 20 reticles that you can select from and 5 reticles that can be stored at any given time within the optic itself. Reticles are accessed through an app that's on your smartphone, and once it's all set up, it's extremely easy to use and very intuitive to use, and you can switch amongst different platforms and different profiles that you set up within the app. Now, once you have everything selected and you're just out in the field, everything is very easily accessible through your menu keys. Zeroing you can do in a multiple of ways. One of being just your standard, set it into your 0 mode and then click back and forth, and that will give you your up, down, and left to right. The optic itself is set up in 1 MOA clicks. So every time you move everything, it's in MOA. The optic itself is IP67 rated, which means that it is dustproof and submersible in water up to 1 meter for approximately 30 minutes or so. The large field of view makes it very easy to use, very intuitive, and also easy to set up with an additional magnifier for taking longer range shots. The data projection is very crisp, very clear. Inside your window, once you turn it on, which is accomplished by on your back screen over here, there is a center button amongst the 4 arrows. If you push and hold that button down for 1 second, it will turn on the optic. If you push and hold the button for 3 seconds, it will shut the optic off. If you just, once the optic is on, if you just push that center button real quick, then it brings you into your menu modes. Now, as I stated before, there are 2 apps that you can use with this. One gives you automatic zeroing capability. It's an app called Double Shoot. You would download and print their 25-yard target or 25-meter target, however you are set up for, and you would input all of your information that's pertinent to setting everything up. And then once you do that, you will begin the process. You'll take and fire your 3-round group, and you'll take a picture of it, and the computer will move and adjust where your impacts are. You will then select yes to save, and go back and fire another 3-round group to verify 0. Makes it really easy to use. That particular app has a lot of other features that go along with it, and we will take a look at that in a later segment. Now, that app comes with a price tag. When you first get your optic, you have a 14-day free trial period with it. And after you have finished that 14-day trial period, then it is roughly, I think, $18 for the entire year thereafter. So you would have to determine if the value of what you get with that app is worth the $18 for each time that you set it up. The other app that comes with it is the actual Meprolight app, and within that app you can turn on and off different features within your optic window. And when you look through the optic, once again I'll post up pictures so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Top left corner, you will have a compass. In the middle of the screen on the left hand side off to the edge, you will have a roll meter, which will tell you if you're pointing up, down, and if your firearm is canted left or right. The other thing that it has, you would notice, is that it will have a battery indicator on the top right corner. It will have a Bluetooth symbol, if that is on, just underneath that. And then if, depending upon what caliber firearm you are using and what platform you have it set up for, it does have an auto shot counter. That way you can set that for 30-round magazines, 42-round magazines, 10-round magazine, whatever your state allows. And through the recoil of the firearm, it keeps a pretty accurate count as long as you're using the heavier calibers, 308 and 7.62 by 39. Smaller calibers like 5.56, is too light of a recoil to trigger the internal movement trigger inside the optic to count down rounds accurately. The only one that I've seen that would do that is if you have a seriously overgassed firearm, typically military style M4s that have a very large gas port drilled into the barrel will trigger the shot counter. Now, as far as some of the other things that you will see, which everything that's within the reticle of the optic is controlled through the app. So if there are things that you find you don't need, you can shut them off so that when you turn it on, you don't have to look through it. And it really doesn't clutter your field of vision at all. But it's little things that can if you're not focused on your task at hand, that can kind of divert your attention for little bits of time. And if you're trying to make a precise shot in a critical moment and you're not used to all this stuff in your screen, then it might be a little confusing to you. Now, as far as the optic itself, because it runs on the app and everything, it is the firmware that is within the optic does receive updates. Now, those updates that it gets will improve the functionality of things that are within and also add future functionality to the optic itself. Now, one of the interesting things about this optic is you have 10 programmable platforms or profiles that you can keep and store within your app. So theoretically, you can have this mounted on an AR-15, and then when you switch over to your AK-47, you can take your optic off your AR, put it onto your AK, switch to the AK profile that's saved within the app, and as long as you haven't changed any rail heights or anything like that, your zero will be preset, and you should be good to go. I use this on AR and I use it on Tavor, and I haven't had any issues with moving it from rail to rail, upper to upper. I've had this optic for about almost 2 years that I've been shooting it, and the zero, like I said, zero it in the late spring, and then I re-zero it again in the winter time, and I never have any troubles, like I say, switching it between the different platforms, as long as you haven't changed anything, any heights or anything like that, that would throw that off. The other thing that makes it pretty interesting is if you only use it on one platform, but say you go to the range with your wife or your son or daughter, and you can zero it for yourself, and then you can switch it to a profile that you can make up for them, where it's zeroed for them, and that way every time, each time it returns to zero for each person as you switch the profiles back and forth. Now, like I said, I haven't had any issues with that in itself, so that's always been a good thing. You can focus you can change the brightness, rather, of your green dot in one of two ways. You can either use the up and down arrow, which will increase and decrease the brightness of your green dot. And the other thing that you can do is you can set it for auto bright, which will automatically brighten and dim the reticle and stuff within the optic as as necessary. A little bit later I'll get everything set up outdoors, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Now, as far as the menus go, they're pretty intuitive. So you push your center button real quickly once, and it will go into your menu mode. The first section that's there in your menu mode is exit, and then it goes to a low power setting. Now, if you select the low power setting, that will reduce your power consumption by shutting off all of the little bells and whistles that come with the optic itself. So Bluetooth, your roll indicator, your compass, your shot indicator, all of that will pretty much be turned off until you switch it out of the low power setting. Then it has a zeroing mode, which when you go into the zeroing mode, it will show your grid, and then it will have the arrows up or down where you want to move your shot to, and you can manually adjust the zero through that part of the menu. Then after you exit out of the zeroing mode, there is the next option down is your Bluetooth on off mode, and that there usually you turn it on when you want to set everything, select anything, if you're going to be swapping things out. If you're at the range and there are multiple of these optics that happen to be there, which I've only run into that twice, they'll show up on the app, and you could mess with people's stuff. If that's left on and they have the app as well, they can mess with yours. So any of your settings, they can change, they can adjust just by selecting your optic. I've never had that happen, but I just assume that would probably be a a thing that's there, because you can, like I said, I've seen it once or twice where there has been other sites at the range, and you can, unless you know your EMI number that's on the bottom of it, they will then, you select whichever site you select. You shut that off, and then there's no issues. The only thing that you won't be able to do is switch profiles. Turn it back on, switch everything out, shut your Bluetooth back off. No big deal. Then you go on to Page 2, which gives you your compass calibration. So when you go into calibrate your compass, it's going to have you with your sight mounted onto your firearm, take and start the calibration. You're going to start at what they call 12 o'clock, and you're going to raise the firearm 45 degrees above the horizon. And then while you're doing that, you're going to spin towards the right to the 3 o'clock position. And then at the 3 o'clock position, you will tilt or cant the rifle 45 degrees. Then you will turn to the 6 o'clock position, and you will bring the optic and rifle so you're pointed 45 degrees below the horizon. And then you will rotate to the 9 o'clock position, cant the rifle 45 degrees to the left, and then you will rotate back to the 12 o'clock position and do that until the optic lets you know that your compass is calibrated. Now, just like any other compass that's out there, if you are have any type of magnetism next to it, or if you have or are shooting in and around power lines, any type of high electromagnetic fields will throw off your compass just as it would any other compass that's out there. Now, as far as compass calibration, you should pretty much only need to do that once, unless you know, it was sent off for repair for whatever reason. The optic comes with a 1-year warranty, and it's they're pretty solid about their products. They're pretty responsive. May take up to 24 hours for them to get back to you, but they do get back to you for even the smallest questions or things that you really want to ask. So, putting this all together, pros: this optic is extremely easy to use. It has a very crisp and clear display. The swappable features are extremely easy and intuitive to use. The app, once you go through everything and set everything up, you should have a pretty decent understanding of how to use the app, and it's really straightforward, pretty easy to use. Charging is extremely fast, and like I said, that's a very good positive to it, is that it's extremely fast charging. However, the drawback to that, going into the cons of it now, you can't change out your batteries. So if you're out and about and your optic dies, well, you can plug it into your car charger or whatever to charge it up. You can't just quickly change out and throw a couple of you know, CR123 batteries in it and call it a day. So that's kind of a bummer. I wish that they would have made that an option for you. The shot counter doesn't work with 5.56. It only works with your heavier calibers and shotgun. There is the rubber cover that's covers your charging port. That is very easily lost. So it does not come epoxied to the optic, and would be something that I would recommend doing, as I've lost the dust cover a couple of times and finally epoxied it to the optic, and I've never lost it again. The apps, you have the double shoot app, which once again may or may not be a drawback for some people, because it's 18 bucks a year, but you need to make that decision if the app itself is going to be 18 bucks worth of benefit to you throughout a year. The other thing that I find is your green dot. If you are scanning through, say, a field or group of trees or something that has a lot of green in it, and you have it set to auto brightness, you can lose your dot fairly easily. And when we go outside, I will show you that. Definitely not a deal breaker, because I don't use the auto brightness. I use the manual bright up and down for the brightness, and I have not had any issues with it. As far as night vision goes, now I've used this a few times with night vision, and using it at its lowest setting, it does not fuzz out on you, so you can still see all of your reticles pretty clearly. So if you ever needed passive aiming and stuff like that for night vision, it is very easily usable. Now, other than that, that's pretty much what we have here. So I will set this up and take you outside, and when we come back, we'll take a look at what I'm talking about with some of the auto brightness features, looking down the optic itself. All right, see you outside. Okay, now that we're outside and we're looking through our optic, you can see that what's present is our roll meter, our compass. So as I roll the optic onto the side, you can see that that moves, and the compass changes directions as well. So right now I have it in auto mode, and get a good view of the dog's pull toy. And what we are looking at is in auto brightness mode. So I will just cover or move to, you get any type of a shadow that goes over and covers your daylight sensor, and everything goes way down to 1, or even below 1, goes to off, thinking that it's got its protective hood on, and it's time to go to sleep. So as we get out into brighter sunshine from being underneath this tree, we can see that it does dim out a little bit. And if you get something that is a similar shade of green, trying to find other things that are around, it can be very possible to lose sight of your reticle. So moving through the different reticles that you can have. These are just the ones that I typically use. And as you can see, we're on brightness setting of 9. You can change it down and see if we can get this here to focus again. And so forth. So that being said, moving it up and down, I usually just use manual. I apologize for any wind noise that's out there due to the fact that this is windy at the moment. And then obviously moving it out of the reticle. See if I can get it to focus on what's beyond here. It's not going to cooperate with me. There we go. On its own time, I guess. So, as you can see, your reticle is not cluttered up at all. And it's pretty easy to keep everything, or keep track of everything that's there. Pretty much looking through it, I mean, keeping your eyes focused on your target and not your reticle, and everything lines up very well, very easily, and that's pretty much how it goes. Other than that, this is Joe with Defensive Lucidity. If you have any type of training needs that you are looking for, please go to our website, www.defensivelucidity.com, and select any of our classes. If there is something that I don't have a class posted on and you would like to see if there's any information or it's something that we do offer, just get in touch with us, and we will do everything in our possible realms of getting you the training that you are looking for. As always, Joe with Defensive Lucidity. Have a great day.